This is a sharing that comes from the deepest part of my own spirituality, my own divinity, and the truth of who I am. I believe that each one of us has an innate longing, if you will, to be seen and be heard. And I mean really seen and really heard. When I see you and you see me, we share our humanness. We share our vulnerability. We understand and we know that we are each a human being with our own story, a story that may never have been shared with anyone. We are each the star of our own movie. When I see you and you see me, we are joined from our generosity of love, of caring, of knowing that we are one. There is no separation. There is no other. There is no othering. There is none of the other guys. Those other people, that other spiritual belief, that other color. There is no othering. Wars are fought because of othering. When we other, it implies not only different, but perhaps less than. I reject othering, and I acknowledge only that we are all generous, magnificent, global citizens of a world that is ours for the making. I am going to read an excerpt from a book called See No Strangers. And this is a marvelous book by a woman by the name of Valerie Kaur, K-A-U-R. Valerie is of the Sikh faith. She was born, raised, and educated in this country on a farm that her family has owned and farmed for over 100 years. She has earned degrees from Stanford, Harvard Divinity School, and Yale Law School. She's a civil rights activist, a lawyer, and a filmmaker. She sounds kind of like George Clooney's wife, actually. But I'd like to read to you what Valerie says, because she has experienced in her life both othering and generosity. She says, I don't know how love works beyond life and death. Some moments strike me in such wonder that I let myself fall into the glass blower's breath. All I can do is hold on to the vision of the world longing to be, a world where every child feels found and every person is beloved, a world where we can look upon any face, even those we might fear, and find recognition, a world where we beckon each other to return to love. This work belongs to all of us. We all have the ability to participate in this great love story. Imagine the stories we will tell, the institutions we will build, and the lives we will lead when we affirm that every person is a person. Imagine the world we will birth when we see no stranger. That's powerful. So I'm going to read the monthly affirmation, and then we'll say it together twice. I open my heart to giving and receiving generously. Together. I open my heart to giving and receiving generously. Again. I open my heart to giving and receiving generously. And I add with love.
You know, this week we step into the expression and experience of gratitude with Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday in this country. And, there's a couple things that kind of ruminated for me as I was thinking about what I really wanted to talk about today. And first of all, these two songs, United in Song and Wild Mountain Time, they both are reminders. They're both reminders that each and every one of us is part of something greater than a limited sense of self. And that is precisely what we teach here at Unity and in the New Thought movement. There is something within each and every one of us that is a call to expand the awareness beyond what we perceive to be our physical or conscious limitations. We are, each and every one of us, part of the greater, part of something greater. We are a community in an infinite landscape, and each and every one of us is a voice. Each and every one of us is a voice in that greater harmony of life. And life is always, always, always calling us back into attunement. Life is always calling us back into attunement. And for me, gratitude is a tuning fork. Gratitude is a tuning fork. It invites us to shift our conscious awareness away from the notions of fear and into possibility, into infinite possibility, because there is nothing that is impossible. What did Audrey Hepburn say? We just talked about this in class earlier this week. Audrey Hepburn said, nothing's impossible, just look at the word. It says, I'm possible. I'm possible. You're possible. Every single one of us is possible. We are the possibility of divine source showing up in this experience. Let us lead from that point of view. There's a parable that I want to share with you. Also, every singer in this room will tell you how important it is to hydrate. So this is kind of a mishmash of different stories, and I've endeavored to kind of turn it into something. Just go with me on this. So there's a young drummer who was in a subway station, and he's down there, and he's got this warped drum, and it's, he's like banging away at it. I'm not going to make you bang away at a drum, Paul, I promise. But he's just banging on that drum, bang, 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 and he's trying to create this rhythm and get people excited and into the flow of this rhythm that he's trying to create. But the drum is dull, and it's flat, and it's discordant. And he feels discouraged because people are just walking by, not really paying much attention to him. And so in his discouragement, he sets the drum aside. An older musician comes by, and he sees this young man sitting there. And the older man asks to see the drum. And he picks up the drum. The young man says, sure, and he picks up the drum. And the older man doesn't try to fix the drum. He doesn't try to tighten the skin. He doesn't try to do anything to it. But he taps lightly to find the true tone below the distortion. And so he's playing the drum. And he tells the young man, the drum isn't broken. It's only forgotten its resonance. That our work is to tune in to what still is, not what fear says it has to become. Gratitude is like that. Gratitude is the tuning consciousness, restoring harmony and rhythm in what seems discordant. There's a lot to look at in the world. I talk about this not infrequently these days, sadly, but there's a lot to look at in the world that feels really discordant, right? And you can look at that stuff and go, well, it's really hard to feel grateful about all of this. I was about to use a word that I should not use on a Sunday. Stuff. It's really easy to look at the stuff that seems discordant in the world and be overwhelmed by it. But how we overcome that overwhelm is through embodying a deep sense of gratitude. Not by changing the drum's outer expression, but by connecting to our own inner pulse of gratitude. And we all have it. We all have it at hand, each and every one of us. We've been studying a book on Tuesdays, the book Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. And boy, is this book just filled with beautiful nuggets of infinite wisdom. And he had this to offer in the book. He said, thanksgiving is not a reactionary emotion. It is a causative energy. We sometimes think of Thanksgiving, oh, what is it that I must be grateful for? So now I'm going to go into my reactionary and try to drum up some emotion around this. Oh, I am so grateful for my life. And not that you shouldn't be grateful, but sometimes we give it a little bit of lip service. Oh, I'm so grateful for my life. I'm so grateful for my friends. I'm so grateful for my home. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. But the thing about it is that reactionary emotion may not be what you are seeking. Because if we are living from the point of view of an embodiment of gratitude for all things, irrespective of whether this week is Thanksgiving or not, because Thanksgiving is an everyday practice, if we are living from the embodiment of Thanksgiving, of gratitude, then it is a causative energy for what we would like to experience in our lives. It is not a passive feeling, it is an active feeling and a vibration, and that vibration comes together and coalesces itself into the outer construct of our lives. And so when we are living from the point of view of gratitude, our lives must mirror that, because everything that we experience is a mirror of something inherent within each and every one of us. Conversely, if we are living from the vibration of fear, guess what the world provides to us in reflection? A lot more to fear. A lot more to fear. A way to tune into consciousness through gratitude is to allow ourselves to fully embody this creative current of the infinite. Just take a breath in. Each and every one of us is part of something greater than we are. It's not to say that there is a hierarchy, but there is a greatness that each and every one of us share. We are part of that infinite wholeness. Gratitude sets the creative law of mind into motion. I love what Linda Martellowitz, one of the great ministers in the Unity movement, who really is, I'm right in there with her. She is delighted to be able to overhaul the teaching of prayer within our movement. And if you've not read her book, Discover Your Divinity, which she co-wrote with Reverend Deanne Weir-Morency, it is an upgrade in how we teach and engage in prayer in our communities. But she talks about gratitude from this point. She says, if we understand gratitude as the vibration of appreciation, well, anything that appreciates is growing. Get it? Like in finance? Financial appreciation says, hey, it's growing. Well, whatever we appreciate grows in our experience. And so what if we lead with gratitude in every single moment rather than feeling it after we think life has delivered something to us? Like a tuning fork. Like a tuning fork. Gratitude tunes us to the harmony of life. When it is tuned, generosity simply flows from that attunement. Not obligation or feelings of lack. When we are tuned in, generosity flows. That theme this month, generosity, the idea that we can be giving of ourselves free and with abandon and know that what we give is also matched in the givingness right back to us. We can live in a constant state of giving and receiving in that infinite flow. And it transforms the experience of life profoundly. This is what I have found. This is what I have found in my exploration of these principles. And what a gift that has been to me. I didn't always think about life from that point of view. You know, I've only been in this movement for about 20 years. And I had a very different kind of life prior to that. I didn't understand that gratitude could be a point of view about the way I live life. I lived from that idea that I mentioned earlier, that it is a reactionary emotion. And my life showed up according to that point of view. So I didn't have a lot to really feel deeply grateful for. But I tuned in. And I realized that it's not about giving thanks for things. It's not. It's giving thanks from the awareness of an all-sufficiency, which is what Eric Butterworth also invites us to understand when he wrote, "Give thanks not for things, but from the awareness of the all-sufficiency, even within seeming insufficiency." Seeming insufficiency. This is a practice. This is a life practice that we can adopt, and our lives will show up to support that life practice. If we give thanks from the awareness of the all-sufficiency, realizing that all we need, all that we could ever require, all that we could ever desire is already available to us, and live from the point of view of thanksgiving for that idea, then we actually don't experience insufficiency, because insufficiency is a seeming idea. So let me ask you this. This is, a rhetorical question. I want you to consider for a moment, what if insufficiency didn't exist in your life at all? What might life look like then? What if insufficiency, a concept of insufficiency, didn't exist in your life at all? What would life look like then? I will hold firm in my resolve that this is the actual case of our lives. That insufficiency cannot possibly exist because the infinite creator is infinite in its expression. And so everything we seek is in the realm of infinity, because there is nothing that is not found outside of infinity. There can be nothing outside of infinity, because infinity is all there is. If we think there is something separate from infinity, then we think in some form of lack and limitation, because then we put edges around it. And so if we are seeking sufficiency, our role is to let go of the notion that insufficiency exists to begin with. Creation is infinite, and we are aspects of infinite creation, creating infinitely. That is who and what we are, each and every one of us. Seeming insufficiency, then, is simply this: it is unexpressed possibility. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because the moment we conceive of an idea, that idea exists in form in some manner. It cannot be any other way, because fundamentally, the creative source works that way. An idea is impressed into a subjectivity, and I don't get lost in all the jargon words I'm about to use, because if you want to learn all the jargon, you can come to class. But an idea... But an idea is impressed upon a subjectivity that says yes to it. And so what flows forth from that subjectivity is the form of the idea. You have something that you are rich with: ideas. You are rich with ideas. I can't imagine there's a single person in this room or online or anyone within the sound of my voice who could not consider for a moment that you have ideas all the time. All the time. Some of those ideas are working for you. Some of them may not be working for you. That's okay. But remember that any idea that seems insufficient has a contrasting idea that is infinite sufficiency. Got it? Yeah. Gratitude is the fuel in the engine of creation. That's how I always refer to gratitude. It is the fuel in the engine of creation. But the thing to remember is that when we take it as a cursory response and we allow ourselves to feel gratitude for things, then it becomes transactional. And when it's transactional or conditional, it becomes rooted in the external circumstances. And the minute those external circumstances dissipate, then we may find ourselves feeling devoid or empty. So gratitude for things becomes transactional, but gratitude from the awareness is transformational. And we are the transformative expression of gratitude, each and every one of us. It's kind of like, I used to use this on Sundays once in a while as an analogy. Do you remember iPods? It was a device that used to be made by Apple. They don't make iPods anymore. But I remember when the iPod first came out, this was a really exciting technology because I could carry 1,000 songs in my pocket. And how delightful that was as a notion. And then the space, the capacity grew and grew and grew and grew. And then I could carry 10,000 songs in my pocket or 100,000 songs in my pocket. Well, the iPod ultimately made way for the iPhone, right? And so the functions of an iPod are now available on an iPhone. And, these are simply devices. These are simply devices. Devices are kind of like us. We are devices of the infinite. We are devices of the infinite, and we are seemingly self-contained, right? We have a memory system. It's our minds. Sometimes we point to the brain for that, but, I'd say our memory system is mind and heart. They are seemingly self-contained, but the nice thing about what happened with the iPod is that it moved into being functional on the iPhone, and then there was a connection to the inexhaustible source, because all of a sudden you had connection to the whole of the internet to seek and find the music that you desired to listen to. We are like that. We have a connection to an inexhaustible source, and the only limitation that exists is a limitation in our own mind. The only limitation that exists on my iPhone are the songs that I choose to play on my iPhone. But ultimately, I have access to every song I could possibly imagine. I'll tell you, I was sent the charts for these songs that were offered today, and I wanted to go listen to them. And so I did the search on my iPhone. I searched on my iPhone, and I found these songs on the iPhone. I thought, this is such a great metaphor for what I'm talking about today. We are connected as an inexhaustible source to the infinite and to one another, and what a blessing that is. And so the call in gratitude and thanksgiving and appreciation is this: to shift from the notion of not enough to an idea that we are deeply connected to the infinite. We are rooted in an infinite source that is constantly showing up saying, yes, 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 yes. And if we live life from that point of view, all we have to do is allow ourselves to see what happens. Just see what happens. You could say that flow happens, but some people may not feel that. You could say that generosity becomes natural from that point of view, but some people may not see that. But here's what I'm going to encourage every single one of us to do. I'm going to encourage every single one of us to experiment with this idea, because new thought is nothing if not a call to experiment. And so the experiment is this: let go of the notions of not enough and step into the practice of absolute sufficiency in all things and in all ways. And if we just experiment with it, just see what happens. Again, I say every week, you don't have to believe what I believe. You don't have to think what I think. All I offer is an opportunity to explore. And in the exploration, seeming insufficiency can be transformed into an infinite experience of sufficiency. It's an issue of perception. And everything is perception. We cannot perceive a problem. We cannot perceive that there is something we might call a problem unless there is a resolution or a solution inherent in it. Otherwise, we wouldn't perceive it as a problem. Got that? The only reason we say, this is a problem is because we see some other side of it. But if we saw it just as a thing with no other side, we might not perceive it as a problem. And so let go of the notion of limitation, which many people might see as a problem, and understand that the solution to it is an abundance of sufficiency for which we can live in eternal gratitude. Linda, our beautiful, magnificent music director. Yes, thank you. I didn't know I was going to reference you today, but on the Wednesday night service this past week, you said something, and I immediately wrote it down. You said this: there is no life without gratitude. There is no life without gratitude. And I thought, what a perfect way to sum up these ideas today. There is no life without gratitude. Gratitude is not just a practice, it is the heartbeat of a spiritually alive person and a community. I believe this is a community that exists in the flow of gratitude at all times. And it's through gratitude that we can shift from fear to possibility and then actuality. And so, the call for us to is engage in what I will call a Grati-Tune up. If you get I'm going to say it correctly today, if you get the Wednesday email, I always say the Friday email, but it's the Wednesday. If you get our Wednesday email, I always announce what the talk title is. This week it was Grati-Tune up. We are here to live from the point of view of being the expression of a Grati-Tune up. And in a Grati-Tune up, there is a return to the inherent pulse and rhythm in all things, restoring life where it feels discordant. So let us tune up our hearts to that rhythm and become the generous beat of love. Peace and blessings. You are magnificent. Each week, I offer a practice to allow ourselves to take the ideas that have been offered here and apply them in a practical way in our lives. And so the life practice this week is this. And I want to preface this by saying there's kind of a joke that happens that, Thanksgiving can be a time that is fraught with challenge because we bring our family members over, and sometimes we have a little issue with family members. I'm sure nobody in this community ever experiences that. But here's what I would like you to do. In seeming discord, I would like to, each day this week, pause. Oh, I wrote that wrong. It should be at least with a T, not at least. So we'll have to correct that before we post it online, Sherry. Every day this week, pause at least 3 times and notice where life might feel a little discordant. You might have an easier time of that on Thursday, depending on your family dynamic. And take the moment to stop, reflect, and say a simple thank you. Just speak a simple thank you for the infinite possibility inherent in that moment. And again, this is an experiment. See what happens. See what happens by rooting yourself in the consciousness of gratitude.